You know that feeling where you are wrecked because of all of it being too much? The office, the notifications, everyone talking all at once. You're just in this place of sensory overload and then you crash at the end of the day or the end of the week. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about why that happens. I'm going to give you some strategies you can use to help protect yourself when you're in an environment that is just too much sensory input. And then I'm going to give you two somatic practices you can use to help reclaim your energy, ground yourself in a chaotic, noisy environment. And I call this type of burnout the sensory overload burnout. This comes from my burnout clarity framework, where there are 6 different types of burnout, really depending on the different factors that are impacting your experience of burnout. And you can experience one type, you could experience multiple types. I have a free burnout assessment. I'm going to drop the link in the description down below if you want to check that out to see which type or types you might be experiencing. So I'm going to start just by talking a little bit about what sensory overload burnout is, some signs that you might be experiencing it. So sensory overload burnout is really when you just get overstimulated by the environment. That could be the physical environment, like the fluorescent lights, or it's really loud and noisy, or there's just like a lot going on all the time. People are talking, moving around, there's a lot of smells, whatever it might be. There's just a lot of sensory input. But this could also be in the virtual environment, like the amount of notifications you are getting from people, the messages, the emails, the constant kind of pulling for your attention. All of this is a sensory experience that can lead you to burnout, or even just a lot of time on the computer, on video calls. All of that can just be overwhelming to the senses. So some signs to look out for that you might be experiencing this type of burnout is that you get to the end of the day and you're experiencing kind of almost like a buzzing. You're kind of keyed up, but it's not necessarily worries or anxiety that's connected to something that's happening. It's just hard to unwind. You're feeling just kind of overstimulated in the body. You might also have trouble thinking. It might be hard to focus, or you might just numb out. Like it might be hard to feel anything, just feeling really drained. And it might be that everything, like you feel kind of raw, like everything feels too tense, too much, too loud. Even if other times you wouldn't necessarily experience that same thing in that way, but it's that feeling where everything is, you're kind of on edge. So anything that comes in feels like it overwhelms you. It takes you over the edge. And this is true too, where you might just feel irritable or snappy with people, just like your nervous system is on hyperdrive. And so everything just feels like it's too much, no matter where it's coming from. If it's a sensory experience or if someone is asking you for something, you might just get really snappy or irritable with them. And you might be just noticing a lot of tension in the body. So there might be a pulling up or a bracing, just a lot of tension and stress you're holding in your body. And you might just notice this desire to run away, get away from everyone, everything, have some peace and quiet. And I think this is particularly challenging in our modern day and age when there is so much sensory input from our devices, from our screens. There's an expectation you have to respond right away to things. There is just this constant input that happens with the senses. So when you are at work, that might be expected in some ways. And then you might come home and just get on screens and you don't give your system really time to reset, to relax, because there's always this constant input. So we're going to be talking about a few strategies that are really simple that can help you to not get to that place of overwhelm or bring you back to a more balanced place before you just feel totally overwhelmed and shut down. And if you are a highly sensitive person or you are neurodivergent, I think this one can be really common just because you might feel things really deeply. You might be aware of more of what's going on. So you're actually picking up more sensory information, which can lead to that overstimulation, that overwhelm. And so it's just really important to know that you might need different things from someone else, and there's nothing wrong with you because of that. But if you have a sensitive nervous system, or if you are neurodivergent in many different ways, your brain processes things differently, and that means sensory experience. So it's really important to have these small little practices that I will teach you too at the end of the video to help work that energy through your system, because this can't happen in the mind. You can't overcome this type of overstimulation from thinking your way out of it. All right, so for the first strategy, you really want to start by identifying your sensory drains. What is it that is really overwhelming your senses? Is it something that is noise related? Is it a visual thing? Is it smells or the lighting? Is it just being on screens all the time? Is it the notifications? Is it the sound of the notifications? Just starting to notice what causes your body to tense up, what causes that stress response in your body. And this doesn't have to be anything formal, but just starting to bring awareness to what is actually coming in your senses. Because we often think about food, we're eating food, you have to take food in, you have to assimilate it into your system. And that is true with all sensory information. So anything you're taking in with your eyes or with your ears, your body has to take that in, process it, and assimilate what it needs and release what it doesn't. So if there's too much coming in, your body can't process that information. So just starting by noticing. You might even start writing a list of things down of what you notice leave you feeling really overstimulated. If it's around certain spaces, it could be people. Some people might have, like, they might be really loud, or they might smell a particular way, not like bad necessarily, but it might be a product they're wearing that can feel overstimulating to your system. So just start by noticing. The second strategy is around reducing sensory input where you can. So obviously there's things that are out of your control, but what are some ways you might be able to reduce the sensory input? Could be something as simple as silencing your phone so it's not like the constant audio message. You might still have to check it. It's not like you can stop looking at your phone, but maybe just some reduction in the noise component of it. Or if it's even just environmental, where it's like the fluorescent lights are a lot, maybe you have a lamp if you can. Or it's how do you shut off at the end of the day when you do have choice to have even just some time where there is silence, which is really hard when you are used to this constant stimulation. But the silence allows you to process all of that information that's been coming into your system. Could just be taking time to read is a very different sensory experience. It's a lot less on the mind, the body, just simple ways. Maybe it is having an in-person meeting instead of messaging someone. Just noticing these ways that you can start to reduce some of the sensory input. Obviously, you can't do it for everything, but just start noticing maybe small, subtle ways that you can start to shift how much you're taking in your system. Then the next strategy is around how you can use your senses to actually help soothe your body, your mind. So there are particular sensory experiences that can take you out of balance, and there's also sensory experiences that can help you to come back into balance. So this could be something like a aromatherapy experience, or if there's music that feels really energizing or soothing or just makes you feel good, that is one of the ways you can kind of bolster your experience instead of having the senses just always leading to you feeling overstimulated. But that has to come from a place of awareness. So does the music actually help you to feel calm, or does it add more stress to your system? Same with aromatherapy. This might also be about how do you give your eyes some rest? Maybe it's just lying down for a few moments, maybe putting an eye pillow on or an eye cover, something to just allow your senses. So you turn off your sense of sight, but then maybe coming to bring mindfulness to sounds around you or to the sense of touch. And this could also be, just putting lotion on your body or some self massage. Some of the practices I'll show you, we're going to be really thinking about how to use senses in a soothing way. Or this could be something, what you're eating, kind of mindfully really appreciating the taste. So just thinking about, it's not that all sensory experience is bad, it's just being aware of what helps you to feel calmer and what takes you in the other direction of feeling overstimulated, overwhelmed, shut down. And then the fourth strategy is around finding micro breaks. So again, there's some somatic breaks you can do, but any moment you can take in silence, even that if that's 30 seconds, if that's a minute, if you just take a minute to take a couple deep breaths or step outside for a couple minutes or be around someone who's really soothing to be around, those are all going to make a difference in allowing your body to process sensory information instead of just a constant input. It's these small little breaks you can take. And the two practices I'm going to teach you, the somatic practices, are going to be really good to help reset the nervous system when there's too much sensory input. So those are an option. But this could be anything when you're just giving your senses a little bit of a break or using some of those sensory experiences that are really soothing, calming, relaxing. All right, in this next part of the video, I'm going to teach you two really simple somatic practices that you can use as little micro breaks, ways of just resetting your nervous system. You can do them in as little as 30 seconds, or you can do them longer if you need a little more relief. All right, this first practice is a tapping practice. So we're going to interlace our thumbs, palms pointing to the body, resting your hands on your chest. And then you're just going to start by finding a little bit of a tapping from side to side. So you're tapping one hand and then the other. I'm really trying to get this at a steady rhythm. You could do this with your eyes open. You could do it with your eyes closed. Bringing awareness to the sense of touch. So notice where your hands in contact with your chest. Maybe feeling your palm in contact with the sternum. And then we'll just take a moment to pause so you can keep your hands rested on your chest. This can sometimes just feel good and soothing, or you can let your hands rest down. And just take a moment to notice how you're feeling. We did that pretty briefly. You could always do it for longer. But just notice now what's happening in your body, the quality of your mind. All right, our second little micro break practice is a simple kind of side to side brushing. So it's very simple. You're just brushing down one arm all the way to the fingertips and then brushing down the other arm all the way to the fingertips. And again, your eyes can be closed, they can be open, and you're just finding a steady rhythm here. Could imagine kind of brushing off a particular incident or feeling. And we're using the sense of touch here. So this can be really soothing. You might squeeze down the arm. That might feel a little more soothing. Or you could do just smaller circles or longer strokes. And you can kind of play with what feels good in your body here. Maybe even interlacing your fingers, massaging the backs of your hands. And then as you're ready, again, just taking a moment to pause and notice how you're feeling in the body. Notice the quality of the mind. Thank you for being here. I hope you have some really concrete strategies, some small shifts you can make, practices you can try to help reduce the sensory overload at work and help you to be a little more grounded and present. Thank you for coming into my channel, the place you can slow down and tune in. And I'm going to share, like I said, that burnout assessment. If you want to take that, see which type of burnout you might be experiencing. I'm also going to share this practice video if you want to check it out, of a very short little anti-burnout practice for you.